Hello everyone and Meridian members, welcome to a brand new tutorial. So today we are going to be covering hauling, and this is basically going to be a less of a basic guide and more of a kind of intermediate advanced guide, like start to finish. But we are going to start from the very basics as well. So it's basically one which will encompass everything. So starting off, we're going to actually look through the contract. So, reputation-wise, if we go to Covelec, you'll see trainee you should have already done. Then you go rookie and junior and member. Then it goes to experienced and senior. Now, each of these unlocks different tiers of mission. And these are subdivided into various categories as well. So we have supply grade, small grade, bulk grade. Small grade is the smallest and generally easiest, and you'll generally find junior and rookie contracts here, with the occasional member rank. Supply grade, you'll find it mainly experienced, senior, as well as a couple of junior thrown in here, as well as mainly member as well. In bulk grade as well, you will mainly come across experienced, senior, as well as the odd master rank here and there, which is one above senior. What you want to start off with is the small grade mission. So, there are 3 different types of missions which are consistent across all the different bands, which are direct, solar, and planetary. Solar is literally you are taking cargo to different space stations. Now, the big difference between solar and direct solar is that direct solar takes you from one station to another, and it's just those two. So, look, here we have from L1 to Seraphim. This one here, you have from Seraphim to Shallowfield L4, whereas with the solar, you have several different locations. We have L4, L5, L4, L5. The important thing to recognize here is that junior cargo rank don't differ in reputation depending on the amount of cargo. This one here, even though you're only delivering about 11 SEU, is the same as this, despite you delivering significantly more. Here you're doing about 20 SEU. So the 20 SEU will not net you any more reputation. So it's best to pick direct solar ones where you're just going from station to station and you're just picking up a minimal amount of SCU. Now, for the rookie, we're just going to accept this, and these are mainly given in 4 SCU boxes. So we're just going to accept this, press track. Now, ship-wise, what are you going to want to use? For the smaller stuff, you can get away with using a starter ship if you stack boxes correctly. However, when you scale up, you are going to want to use something bigger. And this ship should carry you for most of the missions all the way up to member. For this ship, there are 3 options ahead of you. There is the Freelancer Mac, which can carry 120 SEU and can be rented very easily at stations here. If we just go into here, you can immediately see that we have the Freelancer Max down here, and that can very easily be rented. So this is what I use purely because you can rent at any station and you can... Now, your next option is the Raft. This is an extremely popular choice. It can be bought for 3.5 million. It can be rented for 71,000 credits and can be rented at most of the planetary stores where there are ships. So I would recommend going to Lawful or Crusader and renting it there. Now, the benefit of the Raft is it can carry 192 SCU of cargo, and it can be loaded on the outside. All the cargo is stored on the outside, and that is very handy. The big problem with the Raft is that it requires an elevator to get in. And this elevator can often break, it can often glitch, meaning you're now stuck outside your ship and there's no other way in. There is unfortunately not a ladder up, so you can be stuck. The other one to use is the C1 Spirit, which can be bought for 3,100,000 credits and can be rented on planets at 62,000 credits. It stands at about 64 SCU, so may not be great for member contracts later down the line, but it's certainly a good start. Now, for this mission, I've elected to use the C1 Spirit purely because it's the one I have. However, before we head off, I'm going to walk through the importance of stacking contracts. So if we go into contracts and we go to small grade, we want to look for another direct solar contract. Collect. Well, here, look, we can collect. We're going there and we can probably fit more of that in our ship. So we can collect that very easily while we're there. With rookie contracts, there is not much point stacking more than 2 at a time because it only takes around 6 to 8 contracts for you to actually rank up to junior. Now, upon arriving at stations, I recommend that you do a couple of things as you come into land. Firstly, check your landing gear is actually down, which mine is. Secondly, fly and then turn your ship sideways generally. So, in order that it actually lines up with the cargo bay, what you can do is you can hold Z and rotate the camper fully round in order to work out how best your ship will line up. Just bear in mind that all your controls will be inverted. Park it generally as close as you can without, but be careful not to obstruct it. And there we are. I would also rotate your camera back before you get out. Now, there are multiple ways of unloading the hangar and loading your ship. So, one way is if you get into the co-pilot seat, where we are now, of the Spirit, and I believe the Raft has one equipped, as do several other ships, and you can press enter remote turret, and you will actually enter a tractor beam, and it just extends it down and on this track. And now what you can do is you can just use it like essentially like a tractor beam. Okay, there we are, and you can simply pull stuff off, turn around, and place it in the hangar immediately without ever having to leave the ship. So that is one way of doing it. And of course, there is the usual way with your simple multi-tool or by buying a max lift tractor beam. However, there is my preferred method, and that is the Argo Atlas. And this is like a tractor beam mech. So first thing, never get on it in an elevator because it can glitch. So always bring it out the elevator first. Now this is very important. When you get in it, just simply press F and then don't touch any control whatsoever. If you move during the animation, you will fall through the hangar floor and die. Because what happens then is it forces your ship into storage, and the other side effect is that it also means that your cargo is permanently stuck on the cargo grid. Now, in the rare likelihood that it won't let you actually place it, what you can do is you can hold right click and you can just yeet it. Yes, the Atlas comes with a dedicated yeeters button, and we can just simply pick up and yeet it. Now the Atlas can be bought on planetary stations for around 50,000 or so. Now with the cargo loaded, we are going to take the Atlas with us. Now we're going to head all the way back to Seraph. Right, we've now arrived here and used our Atlas to unload, and that should complete both contracts. So, as stated earlier, the rookie contract, that should literally only tell you 6 to 8 contracts. Junior is a little more of a slog. I believe that's something like anywhere from like 18 to around 25 missions roughly in order to do. Member is where it gets even more of a slog. Obviously, trying to do member is something like ridiculous, like 50 or 60 missions to do. But member is where you want to get really creative at stacking contracts. And bear in mind, these contracts do change based on where you are. So if you're not getting much luck with contracts around Crusader, go to Microtech. Microtech's generally quite good for contracts. Anyway, we're going to take a quick trip to Microtech to check out the member contracts there. Now we're at Port Tresla, we can immediately see we've got a lot more member contracts. So we've got the planetary small ones, which are the ones you want to do, because they'll go to Secure Sun, to the new International Spaceport, Grey Cat, Sunrod Golden Works Center, collect from this particular depot here. And generally, all of these small ones will generally go to the same places. So look, we've got this one, which goes to New Babbage. We've got this one, which goes to Secura again, and to Grey Cat. Click to this one, you've got Secura, Spaceport, and Grey Cat. So what you want to do is you want to select this one, and what's the other one? This one here. All 3 of those go to that particular area, those 3 areas, 4 SEU each. They're generally quite small, and you can just do them all in one go. One thing I will say is just make sure they are different things. So like these are quartz, these are aluminium, and these are carbon. Make sure they're all different so you can file them all separately. If they're all copper or whatever and you file them all together, you may forget which one is going where. Those are the ones you're going to want to do. They're very simple. They're generally consisted of the smaller ones, so you can use the C1 and the Freelancer much more effectively for this. Of course, for some of these bigger ones here, you may want to use the Raft. Anyway, that about wraps it up for member. It's just basically a repeat. But now, when you reach experience, that is when you come into the true amount of money. So we're going to go to the hauling bulk grid, and you can immediately see you've got stuff like 263, 245, and so on, and you've got senior ones as well. Now, for these ones, you want to be using the Hull C, and that's why these are all direct solar. So the Hull C can carry about 4,000 worth of cargo, and I recommend that you do these ones here, which is literally Terra to Magnus and back again, Everest Harbour to Pyro Gateway. I believe that actually Everest to Pyro Gateway is actually quite a short route, because all the others take about 8 minutes to do. This one I think takes about 6, so you can do it quicker. The only difference being, because of the way orbits work, sometimes you may have to use the orbital beacons to jump around the planet. So it's debatable how much time it saves you. For all the smaller ones, you can use the Hull C as well. For example, like Pyro to Terra, so you can take this one on top of the others, and you can do them together. Alternatively, you can use the C2. Now, the C2 Hercules, I will say that's also for doing some of the bigger member contracts as well as experienced. So this is the C2 Hercules. It has 696 SU of cargo carrying capacity, and that is fully stacked. You can fit about 2 layers of 8 SU crates above here, and potentially some 4 SU boxes onto the roof, but that is a bit buggy to do. And this is kind of what you want to have for like big member missions, for some of the experienced missions, and especially for the later senior missions. Do you kind of need this for later on? Kind of? Is it better to just have the whole theme skip this stage? Technically, yes you can. So, is the C2 worth it? Anyway, for the Hull C, there are a bunch of recommended kind of routes and ways to do things, and I am just going to put the flowchart up on screen now, and you can have a look. Everest Harbour to Pyro Gateway, that's experienced. Yeah, we'll do that. And I will say as well, all of these are 32 SCU, so it basically necessitates using the Hull C. Anyway, we're going to head over there. And here we are at Everest Harbour. So this is the Hull C, and we're just going to simply head over to the elevator and enter the ship. Now, when you first spawn it in, it will always materialise in this hangar because the cargo spindles are not extended. For those of you who haven't seen the Hull C before, you're probably wondering, how can this thing carry 4,000 cargo? Well, you'll kind of see. Right, now that we are out the hangar, make sure you're far enough away, and then you're going to hold F and press this little button here, which is Extend Cargo Spindle. And this whole thing gets bigger. These cargo spindles fold out and then the cargo attaches on here. Once you accept the contract, sometimes this cargo transfer requested will come up and sometimes it won't. So what this means is allocated you a cargo deck. And what this means is this is essentially an area where you can load your ship up. So for Everest Harbour, all the cargo decks are located around here, and you can see over there is a blue box that we need to fly into. So for Everest Harbour, all the cargo decks are around this kind of X kind of shaped. Equally, if this doesn't show up, what you do is you press F2, go into comms, friends, and it says the cargo deck there. When we get to the other end, I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to get this to appear if it doesn't appear on the first try. But this did, so we'll just line it up. First thing I would actually suggest is aligning yourself with it. And then you should make yourself fully horizontal if you can and fully straight on, because this reduces the amount of glitches with this loading system, because this is the auto loading system and it's a pain because it's very buggy. Now you've got to keep your ship inside the box and you've got to keep it as still as possible, and then it'll start doing the loading transfer. There'll be a timer at the bottom and there'll be a loading bar. Both of these are highly questionable and inaccurate. What you want to do is wait until it officially says cargo transfer complete. If we press F4 to look outside and hold Z to look around, you can immediately see boxes are being placed on the cargo spindles. Now this does happen over time. There's another one popped in. Now, as you can see, these are highly unreliable because the bar is completed, the timer has run out, and yet it is still placing boxes on here. And there we are, it says cargo transfer complete, and the little area is pulsing gently to basically tell you that as well. It's a nice little, another little visual clue. It took about, I think, around 3 minutes or so to load, roughly. and you can basically see the whole of it is fully stacked. So now, we're going to head to Pyro Gateway. And now we've arrived. So, the bottom of Pyro Gateway, where all these, again, big oblongs are, is where the cargo deck is located. You'll just want to basically keep yourself in quantum and just cruise almost as fast as you can towards the bottom. So you don't want to go too fast, otherwise you will just smash into the station. As I have totally not done on, so many occasions. Anyway, once you get close enough, it will tell you to contact ATC in order to dock. Now we're about 10 kilometers out or so. I am just going to drop out of quantum and start to slow down. We're going to keep the throttle up though and just slowly bring ourselves to the station. There. Now it says please contact ATC to land. So if you press F2 and you go into comms and you just call the cargo deck, it will get stuck on this screen and not a lot will happen. So what you want to do is you want to press NCOM, and you can either press Alt-N or in the F2 menu, you can just simply press on the Pyro Gateway comms, and that will also do it. And this will come up, and it will immediately disappear, which is how it's worked, and it'll give you this docking ring, and that is how you dock the whole thing. However, we're just going to press Alt-N. Press Alt-N until it eventually basically cancels. There we go. Now, upon doing this, the cargo deck now actually works. So we now press this, it'll come up, and it'll immediately disappear, which is how you know it's worked. And now it gives you that menu, and it gives you the blue box over here. So we are just going to fly ourselves over here. We're now on track. We can do it. This is also why some people like to go into the bay vertically from the bottom, because it's a little less hassle. Anyway, we're now into the bay. We're roughly straight on. All the engines are in, and we're just going to come to a complete stop, hand off the controls. It'll go green. It'll say unable to transfer because you need to be stationary. You make sure you're just not drifting anywhere. Your mouse is kind of centered on the crosshair. There we go. It says commencing. And now, if you look in the top right, that is slowly going up. The unload procedure is significantly faster. So you just basically got to wait, but as always, you are not trusting the loading bar or the timer whatsoever. What you want to do is basically just wait until all the SDU have reached basically the maximum number and it stops increasing. Because here is the other bug with the whole thing as well. Sometimes it won't unload all the cargo. It'll miss either 3 or 4 boxes, and those boxes will disappear. They'll be off your ship, but they won't register as being delivered. And that is a bit of a pain, because that then means that you won't get the full word. You won't get 698k, you'll get closer to 550k. But getting, 500,000 for what's essentially 10 to 15 minutes work is not too bad. So let's see. Oh, for ones that actually did the full delivery. That's insane. Okay, that's only the 6th time that's happened. Anyway, once it's done, this will go green, and you probably want to just vacate it as soon as possible. Sometimes as well, even though it says it's fully done, it won't actually register, so you will have to press just submit. And there we are, we got our full payment, which again, rarely happens. I will link my flowchart of the various routes in the description, and I'll flash it up on screen now for 10 seconds or so you can see what the ideal routes are to plot. And yeah, bear in mind there will be some variation, as I've got I've got multiple little post-it notes here with different routes on. Some of them contradict each other, I will say. So I will say preface, the flowchart will not be perfect. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this advanced tooling guide. The whole sea is awesome, and it's definitely one of the best money makers in the game, just period. So yeah, anyway, thank you all very much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a splendid day. Thank you all, and goodbye!